Hey guys, I just want to say that if you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'm a small content creator and could really use your support. I live stream 100% of the gameplay for games that I review, and I'm also always trying to keep up with the big named movies that are being released. If you would like to support the channel monetarily, you can do so through PayPal, or even better yet, you can get yourself some merch from my Teespring store. If you want to get better connected, you can do so through the social links in the description below, and please do consider joining the Discord. If you do, you can voice chat with me through my headphones while I live stream, and you won't be recorded on YouTube or Twitch. That's all I've got, guys. I hope that you really enjoy the video. Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm Mike, and this is...
Other Mike.
And before we get started on the video today, I want to give a shout out to Laura, Marcus, and Nick. These are three guys that I met outside of the theater when I went and saw this movie. And I just want to say hi guys, I hope that you liked the video. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, and really great to have you guys as members of the Action Pack. So today though, Other Mike and I have a question. Especially as technology advances more and more, we're left as society asking ourselves, what is real and what is virtual? This is Mike's After Action Reviews, and today we are doing the After Action review for The Matrix Resurrections. Okay guys, so as always, we are going to start with the production. So this had 4 production companies. So we had Village, so all of, I have it written down here, but in order to make it so I'm not just repeating myself, I'll just say that all of these production companies were part of the original Matrix movies 1, 2, and 3, okay? So you have Village Roadshow Pictures, which is known for The Joker in 2019. You have NVP Entertainment, which was most recently did the Lego Movie 2, the second part. Silver Pictures did Superfly in 2018, and Warner Bros., the biggest one of these, and they did Judas and the Black Messiah, which released earlier this year, 2021. So we have quite a very good history with the production companies. Some really good stuff has come out of here. And then moving on to the writers. So I'm trying to go pretty quick through this because I know we're going to have a lot to talk about. So so we have the writers. Lana Wachowski, writer. So when they did the original Matrix movies, it was the Wachowski brothers. So it was the Matrix 1, 2, and 3. And then as a writer, she wrote on Jupiter Ascending in 2015. And then David Mitchell, who is almost completely new. This is a completely new writer. He was involved with Cloud Atlas in 2012, and then he wrote 1 episode of a series, Sense8, in 2018. That episode came out in 2018. Lana Wachowski also was the writer and director for that series. I think that's probably how they got to know each other. And then you have Alexander Heeman, and he also is completely brand new. This is his first movie. He wrote, this is his second movie. Sorry, he wrote Love Island in 2014, and one episode of Sense8 in 2018. So, and then obviously written. So this was written with Lana Wachowski and also directed by her. So this is all of the original people are coming back together to make the Matrix Resurrections. So. Yeah, so kind of a star-studded cast. Those 2 new writers, but they have Wachowski at the helm. So hopefully, you would think that I would basically call that like a veteran team. So, yeah.
There you
go. So the plot. First of all, this movie is 2 hours and 28 minutes long. So this is a beast. This is a long one to get through. Not quite as long as some of them. I want to say like Lord of the Rings movies were really long. But so the IMDb spoiler-free plot summary is: return to a world of two realities, one everyday life, the other what lies behind it. To find out if his reality is a construct, to truly know himself, Mr. Anderson will have to choose to follow the White Rabbit once more. So this is fine. That's basically what we've seen in the, as far as a plot summary, that's basically what we've seen in the trailers. I also want to add that, from this, I'm just going to directly tell you, Neo is stuck in the Matrix again. Okay? And they explained that not really this isn't a spoiler because you can kind of tell this, but they do explain how, because he's been in the Matrix for so long now, his mind, this second time, his mind is kind of reverting back to almost being like addicted to the Matrix or hooked on the Matrix like it was in the original movies. And they have to try to free him from that. But at the same time, he also, you'll see him in the movie, he's like, oh, I think this isn't real. Oh, I don't know. Right. Is this real? Is it not real? So you kind of get that again. And it's explored here. I would say that it's explored here a little bit more than it's even explored in the original film. Because in the original film, it's just kind of like, oh, hey, your world's not real. And then they show him and then they leave. So, and then also I want to say that this movie is not explicitly about fighting the machines like the original movie was. This movie is more of a character thing between Trinity and Neo, which is what we see in the trailers as well. It's more about the drama kind of between those two characters and their love for each other and everything, and them being stuck in the Matrix again and dealing with that. If that
it's like a power struggle, like with ideologies. There's a couple different. I don't think I'm giving away, but there's a struggle between different entities, not like the previous one.
Yeah, and just so you know, anybody who's new to Mike's After Action Reviews, we're not going to get into spoilers. I would like to, actually, I think at the end we'll do a spoiler. We can talk about some spoilers at the end, but we will give you a warning before spoilers. But these are all non-spoiler reviews. We'll give our review scores before going into spoilers or anything like that. So, what did you think of the story this time around? Like, just the story in itself. Like, especially compared to the other ones, what did you think?
You're asking me. I've seen all these movies. This one was a lot different, I think, compared to the other ones. I think I didn't know what they were doing at the start. I'm not trying to spoil it, but they kind of flipped it on its end and kind of give you twisted your mind a little bit. And you're like, what exactly? I'm trying to think what's going on here at this point. Right. I liked it. It was the twist was unexpected.
Okay, yeah. I will say that I definitely... Okay, so just the story, I would say... like, if I sat down and told you this story, I would definitely say that just without it actually being a movie or anything like that, this is a great idea. I think this is a great idea. I liked a lot of the things that they did here. They included some stuff that is... not spoilers, but it's kind of, I would say, spoilers light, so we're going to talk about it a little later in the miscellaneous section. But they included some stuff that was really good and that is going to be, I think, people are going to like to see. So I think it was, as far as just the story itself, great idea. Execution, we're going to talk about it. So,
well, Mike, would you say that there were layers to the previous movies? Yes. But I thought this had more layers, and it was bouncing between the layers, and that's what I thought was kind of interesting how they did the movie. But
yeah,
there were more. You're digging. You think you gotten down deep enough, and then all of a sudden, I got to go deeper to kind of understand it.
So I will say I like. Well, okay. So we've done a review.
I'm not trying to be a spoiler, but just observing from the outside.
No, that's great. So we've done a review before. I like to kind of keep it a little bit softball until we get a little bit more into it. But I will say this here is that I agree with you. They tried to be, like you said, have multi-layers, maybe go a little bit deeper. And I don't think that necessarily helped the film. I think that it got a little bit confusing, which is, I like, not to toot my own horn here, but I go to movies a lot. And it's hard for me to go, oh, that was actually confusing. Usually I get it. But there, and I don't have that problem. But here I was like, I don't know, like I get it, but I don't know. It's almost like it, maybe it's trying a little bit to be a little bit too deep for what it is, but at the same time, the other ones had. And I don't think it's the most subtle either. I think that certain things they just outright come out and tell you, and so I was like, oh. The originals I remember being a little bit more subtle. Like it would present something. So I told my wife this. I don't want to go off on a huge tangent, but I will just say this. I told my wife this after we watched. I watched the movie and I came home and talked to her about it. And she said, it used to be that things were subtle as far as like putting politics or putting ideas into movies, and you would see something and then you would think to yourself, is that what that meant? And it was a question. A lot of times now in movies they outright tell you like this is what this means, and it's not. I think that's not as entertaining. Some things here were you had to think about it, and some things they outright just came out and told you like this is what it is, and that's kind of like I don't know.
I would wonder if somebody came and never saw all the other Matrixes from previous three and came in and watched this, what they would think.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. I would think they'd be more confused, maybe, or like, oh, I got to go back and watch these other ones to figure it out.
Yeah, that's a good way to put. Yeah, that's a more brief way to put it than I. So, So if you don't have anything else to say, though, I think it's good. We'll move on to actors. So acting and characters. There's a lot, but we're really just going to mention the big ones, and they're the ones that are down here. Okay, so just below me, you can see the picture there. For the most part, anyway. So we have Keanu Reeves, who plays Neo. He was known from the movie Speed in 1994. All the best things came out in 1994.
That's a year of Warren, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he also recently did Bill and Ted Face the Music from 2020. In the movie, he is he's in the simulation again, and it's cool because in the original movie he was a computer hacker. Here he's a game designer. So you see him like designing programs and working with computers and stuff. And that's kind of interesting. Basically, I think that he did a really good job in this of recapturing the character as far as Neo. In the originals, Neo is kind of a blank slate character. You don't see a whole lot of, it's not like he is funny and makes jokes or whatever. He's just kind of a... some people say that Keanu Reeves, he's very deadpan and he's like always kind of like, oh wow, oh, and that basically is Neo's character, which is not a bad thing. I know that might sound weird, but it's not a bad thing in context of the movies. But basically, he recaptures that pretty well. So,
yeah, he was more innocent in the first one at least, and so there's a development of his character and stuff like that. But I have to say, I watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure when it first came out.
Oh yeah,
and I was surprised you didn't mention that because that was kind of his start into stardom.
Yeah, well, and then they brought it back. So Keanu Reeves now is doing all these things where he's like, so he did Bill and Ted again. Like 30 years, 40 years later, or whatever. I don't know how long it's been, but a long time ago, and now he's old, and so they did Bill and Ted. I don't think that one was as successful as they wanted, but I think Keanu Reeves actually is my favorite actor.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, so although he's not the best at emoting in certain ways, he's very intense. Like when he gets into as far as action movies and certain drama situations, he can be very, very intense. It's really cool. So,
with the John Wick, right?
Yes,
it's very similar in his persona.
Yeah, and he does all the training. So he's like black belt in multiple martial arts styles. He's combat trained as far as shooting and stuff. Like he's the type of guy that's like if they made a movie about a guy whose like wife got kidnapped and he had to like go kill a bunch of people to save her, like you've seen those types of movies, that would be Keanu Reeves, because he really is like, I've seen him do things with shooting and stuff like that, and it's some of the stuff that guy can actually do in real life is amazing. So I love him. He's great. So backing him up, we have Carrie-Anne Moss. She plays Trinity. She was in a series. She was actually in the Jessica Jones series, which is what I recently know her from. She was also in the original Matrix movies, but she was in a series, Tell Me a Story, from 2019 to 2020, and then she did a movie called Memento in the year 2000, which she is quite known for. So she is here, and as far as her acting and the character, you see her, a lot of the story has to do with, from Neo's perspective, trying to get out of the Matrix and dealing with the fact that Trinity's in the Matrix and trying to basically get her to get out of the Matrix and free her mind. And I like, so Carrie Ann Moss is a great actress and everything, but you don't actually get a whole lot of Trinity herself. She's kind of, like I said, stuck in the Matrix. So we get some interactions with that. You kind of see, it's almost like high school romance style stuff with Neo and Trinity, where he's looking and he likes her, and then once he kind of discovers, wait, I'm in the Matrix, he's trying to approach her without scaring her and stuff like that. That's basically the biggest interaction that we have, and then until the end. Then some stuff happens at the end, but we're not going to spoil it. So, yeah.
Well, I have to say, she looked pretty good
for her age. Yeah.
For her age, I thought she looked like she had probably gotten into really good shape and stuff like that. But yeah, I like her character. And you said Jessica Jones. I think she appears in all the Defender series, if I'm not mistaken. She's the lawyer.
She's the lawyer, yeah. So yeah, and she's actually stayed quite active in Hollywood. The biggest roles was The Matrix, but that's what everybody knows her from. But actually, she stayed active as far as series and things like that. So yeah, staying fit, staying active, keeping herself looking good. And she does a great job. Her acting chops. She hasn't really aged a day. Her skill is just as sharp as it was. So.
Yeah, she's been acting for a long time. I was looking at some of the stuff she was in. You mentioned a lot, but I mean, there's just a whole slew of things that she's been part of. So she's like, not like an actor who acts and then they're out of work for a while and they come back. She's been in work continually since she's been in Hollywood and stuff. So
it's kind of like Mark Hamill. Sometimes I think of actors and I'm like, Mark Hamill, he was in Star Wars, but people don't know that he's been in a lot of stuff. He's been so busy for his entire career, and then when you see him come back in the movies, you're like, oh, look, Mark Hamill's back. It's like, no, man, he never left. Well,
some go into production, or they're directors. You see a lot of them, they'll be directors. They're not acting anymore. They're directing movies and stuff, yeah.
So those are our veteran actors, and then we have some newer actors, and I'm going to mess up on this guy's name, but it's Yahya Abdul Mateen II, and he plays Morpheus. He's a newer actor. He was in Aquaman from 2018, and he was also in the Get Down series from 2016 to 2017. And that Get Down series, he's brand new actor. That Get Down series, that was like his breakout role, is my understanding. He was in some small stuff before that, but his acting career is very, very new. And right off the bat from the trailers, do you remember seeing the first trailer the first time where they showed Morpheus and everybody was like, oh, it looks different. It's not Lawrence Fishburne. What's up with the mystery behind this new character's recasting? Yeah. There is a reason, and it's a good reason. I like the way that they did this. This is one of those interesting things in the movie where I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And so there's that, I will say. So that was pretty cool. I want to say with the character, now I have a feeling just from what we've said so far that you feel a certain way about the movie, about a lot of the stuff, and I might feel a little bit of a different way. So this might be one of those things that we're going to talk about here. So I think that it was the character was an interesting idea, but they really don't do much with the character. I was disappointed with his, not just like his screen time, but what he means to the movie, what the thing is with the mystery behind him changing and being a different actor. I was kind of disappointed with that.
A little flat. I mean, it was nothing new. I mean...
Yeah, I basically, and in my notes I wrote an unneeded character. If you really think about it, for the people who've seen the movie, you're going to see this character, you're going to be like, oh, this is really cool. But, if you really think about everything that he does, you just kind of think, if he weren't there, it would have been fine. Yeah. So, yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, is that he is a good actor. He's a really good actor. I've liked him in everything I've seen him in. It's just, yeah, the character, they put him out. I think that mostly he was for creating that mystery almost. Like the trailers drew people in where they were like, oh, what's up with Morpheus? And then you're going to see it, and like I said, it is an interesting idea, but where do they go from just telling you what the reason he's different is? They don't do much, so. Then we see the kind of almost the main character before Neo, or alongside Neo, is Jessica Henwick, who is Bugs, and she's a new actress as well. She just recently did Love and Monsters in 2020, and that's what she's most known for. But she was also in the Iron Fist series from 2017 to 2018 alongside Carrie-Anne Moss, and she is a great actress. Here, she's the introductory character. So in the beginning of the movie, you're following her. She discovers some things about the Matrix, which leads into things going on with Neo. And then after that, she's just basically a background character.
Yeah, I like her. I watched Iron Fist, and
Yeah.
she was like the supporting actress, and she was great, especially in some of the fight scenes she did in Iron Fist. So when I saw her, I was like, because I don't think anyway. The color of her hair kind of, I was like, oh, I've seen her before, and then I went and looked it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, now I know who she is. Yeah, but man, I loved her in Iron Fist. Of course I loved the Defender series, but I thought she did a great job in that. It'd be great to see. I would kind of like to see the Defender series come out again with
with Marvel. Well, they're working. They're trying. They're trying. Have you seen Hawkeye and all these other series now that they're coming out? They're leading up to it. So no spoilers for those things. But
I mean, you see some of the people from Defender, like comes out in Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So
well, that's already known.
Crossed over in New York. Yeah.
Everybody's seen that now on the internet. So, yeah, I would say it's really great to see new actors coming out that are doing really good, like that are really good actors. The thing that I would say though is the same thing with Morpheus here. I think that the writing is the problem, because you have these actors who have the ability, but then you write smaller roles for them, or roles where they don't have the ability to really strut their stuff. I think that Neil Patrick Harris in this had some good writing, and I think that although it wasn't like terrible as far as character and stuff, you just don't see Jessica Henwick Bugs or Abdul Mateen II here. You don't see him do a whole lot in the movie, and I think that they could have.
Right.
Yeah.
She was much better than Yaya.
You like him better? You like her better than Yaya?
Yeah, I did. I thought she did good. I guess they could have done a lot more with her, but I thought she did a good job, but they kind of limited her.
Yeah. It's not necessary. Like people talk about bad writing. I'm not talking about writing when I say bad writing here. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that it's not. They just don't do a lot with the characters, basically. Like, they could have done more. Like you said, they could have done more. Her character didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, her character didn't do anything wrong. It's just, they could have done more. So
they didn't utilize all their spectacular talents that they had in previous ones. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. Which might have to do with the writing. They have new writers and stuff. So, but then we have Jonathan Groff. And that is, we're just going to say, there's kind of a mystery behind who his character is later on in the film and stuff, but that's Neo's boss. He is the guy who's over Neo in this game development studio, and he's part of the illusion of the Matrix. He's basically a machine program that is put there to hold Neo into the Matrix. And he's a newer actor. He was most notably from Frozen in 2013. He's newer. He's not like brand new like Yaya is, but he was in the movie Frozen in 2013. He played Kristoff. And then he was in the Mindhunter series from 2017 to 2019, which is on Netflix. That's a really good series. You should definitely watch it. It's about the FBI and what do they call it? Not the NCIS, but the
CIA or
no the analysts.
Secret Service. Okay, analysts. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. That looks like something worth watching.
No, it really is. But I would say that he is a side protagonist, and for everything that they do with him, this is just like Morpheus. Like, they have this cool idea, they do a thing. I think that this idea was less cool. I don't think that this character should have been in here. He was just thrown in. He's not needed at all, less so than Morpheus. So when I say that Morpheus in this movie, they had a good idea where he came from and why he looks different and all that stuff, and then they did nothing with him. This guy, it was a bad idea, and then they did nothing with him. Is what I thought, basically. What did you think about the situation with Neo's boss?
I think it's hard to replace these people that played in the previous ones and stuff. I thought when he almost tried to play the other actor, and I'm like, man, it just didn't seem the same. It seemed like they just were trying to fill a hole. Yeah. I guess I think it could have done without him. I don't think it would have affected.
I don't think it would have affected the movie at all. But no spoilers, because you're saying like the other actor. There is a mystery behind who he is, but I think that this was like, if you were really wanting, as you see, like, okay, this is for people who've seen the movie already. If you see what happens with this guy and you wanted a certain thing to happen in this movie, you're going to see this and be upset that that's how they did it. We'll just put it that way. I didn't like this character very much just because of that.
Yeah.
But then we have the main. So this guy's a side antagonist. I said side protagonist. I meant side antagonist. He's a bad guy. Then we have the main antagonist, who is Neil Patrick Harris. He plays the analyst. And he is famous from the How I Met Your Mother series from 2005 to 2014. And he's also in the 5th season of F is for Family, most recently 5th season, which was in 2021, earlier this year. And he has some really good writing, and he is the bad guy. How did you think that he did as a bad guy?
I at first I didn't know how he was going to play a part in. I'm not going to try to go, but I thought, well, he's a part in this show or in this movie, and he's playing a certain part. But then all of a sudden it changed, and he had a greater role. I thought he did a good job and stuff. I can't help every time I see him, I think of he played in a show called Doogie Howser.
Oh yeah.
So I thought he did a really good job, and he plays kind of characters like that. I don't want to give it away, but yeah, the part that he played I thought was really good, and
so just
at that point where okay, he's more than just
right
part of
what he is. I will tell you, everybody, just so for everybody who knows, I mean, like we said, this is from the trailers. This is not spoilers. Neo is stuck in the Matrix. A lot of the people that you see Neo interact with are people that are designed, that are programs to keep him in the Matrix. It's all part of the illusion. And Neil Patrick Harris' character is one of them. And seeing where they go with him, I would say that he's more entertaining. So he is a new program for the Matrix, brought in for Neo, and he's replacing an older program who we did see in the original series of movies. And I think that he does better, if you know what... Are you picking up what I'm talking about? He does better than the original. Yeah, because the original was I mean, it was okay, but he was quite boring. Here he's got some zing.
This is where we go back and talk. We're talking about there's more layers in this movie, and this is one of those layers that it's kind of hidden, and then you see it and go, oh wow, you're digging deeper and trying to understand the movie, and he's another layer to the movie.
Yeah. So, but I would say all around the acting was really good, and then like I said, the writing. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about the writing, but the acting I would say was very good all around. Not a whole lot to talk about because normally, I said this before, but normally it's like critiques that you mentioned. You don't really say, oh, it's really great, but not a whole lot of critiques to mention about the acting. The characters, there are some issues with some of the characters, but all around I would say they're all right. There's also a bunch of side characters that they bring in and they don't introduce at all. I think they did a better job with the side characters in the original series where you even side characters, you at least knew their names. You kind of had a little bit of a connection to them before they like died or went off and did something different. And here there's a bunch of like there's a whole if you've seen The Matrix, you know what I'm talking about. They have ships, like these crews. There's a whole crew that is in the movie that we don't know their names or anything. That kind of sucked, but the side characters weren't as big of a deal. I would say that these characters that we named are the biggest. They spend like 98% of screen time on the characters we talked about, and then the rest of the characters aren't even named. So, except for a couple, but spoilers,
I think that did the movie get delayed because of COVID? I wonder if that had,
something to do with it.
Had something to do with it.
I don't know if that is the case, but it wouldn't surprise me. We can chalk it up to that and get, okay, but anyway, so moving on, our last section here before our review scores, miscellaneous. Okay, so what do you have for miscellaneous points? What you got for me, other Mike?
Miscellaneous points. So if being I don't think I'm giving anything away, a chaplain in the army, and there's a lot of philosophical things that make people think in this movie, between, like you said, reality and virtual, or what's real or what's a dream, between free will and determinism. I think those are some things that were in the previous ones that came out in this. And if you're that kind of person who thinks about life and trying to understand, your place in the world, this movie probably will provoke some thinking in that direction of, what is really reality, because it's a movie, but it makes you think about things that, a lot of people, they look around and, is this it? Or is there more to this world? I mean, I think that's kind of one of the things that I thought about as I was watching it. That may be my personality, but I think there's other people who feel that way too. Yeah,
and that's a huge thing with the undertone of The Matrix, just in general, like the whole series. A lot of thought-provoking stuff, a lot of symbology. I think that's how you'd say it, symbology and stuff like that. So in miscellaneous, I thought just the way it was with all the technology and everything that they put in it, to the fight scenes, to the ships and everything like that, and just how they, I thought it was more defined than it was in the previous three. Like, say for instance, a machine was more defined. I'm not giving anything away, but the tub they put people in, that they're like in a petri dish, was more. I saw more in that, so I thought some things got more defined. It's like it came closer to you. Like you saw it in a different light. So just all the technology, I liked it. I thought it was really much better than the other three. Okay, so you're saying you liked this better than the other three?
I think I like.
You liked those aspects. Yeah.
I like some of those aspects.
Okay.
But it, like anything, it's like when you repeat a movie and you have a big gap. It's hard to. It's like Ghostbusters, and now they have another one out. It's hard to repeat something that probably shouldn't be repeated,
right?
Like a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say I saw Ghostbusters, and
I didn't see the new one. I saw the previous one. I didn't see
I did a review of it, and I rated that movie as excellent. I think that it was just as good.
I need to watch it then. I stand mistaken. Maybe read that.
But no. It's not bad. I not anything like that. But I'm just saying that movie was just as good as the originals, in my opinion. So. Well,
it's like Indiana Jones. They should have done more than I like. All of those movies are great.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched The Last Crusade. I've watched that. I would probably watch that every year, at least twice. But then they waited so long, and I'm like, why did they not they could have done more. Some more. Yeah. So I think The Matrix, you got to the big gaps are hard to really bring back the same thing that not the original one.
Okay. Well, so I have a little bit more to talk about.
Sure.
Okay, so we gotta going through this. I know this is gonna, like I said, this is gonna be a little bit longer because we do have quite a bit to talk about. Some things. Okay, so first of all, I liked, because as I said, the Matrix movies in this, Neo is a game developer, and the illusion that they use to keep Neo's mind in the Matrix is that the Matrix movies that we've seen before are actual games in this movie's universe. So, like, Neo's actual life, they're saying, oh, that was a game that you designed and you put your memories into it. And that's how they kind of use the illusion, which is great, okay? Not really a spoiler because it's not like a big part of the plot, and this is just laying the baseline for what happens in the movie. Basically, right. So this is how the Matrix explains Neo's memories and that it's part of an illusion. So I thought that was a great idea. Okay, then we... any thoughts on that? I thought that was awesome. I'm a video game guy, so I was like, oh, that's a pretty neat idea.
Well, he could never... I don't think he couldn't get away from what he had experienced before, so they had to try to frame it within game design in order to keep him at bay.
Right. Actually, that's a really good idea. That's a really good way of putting that. So I appreciate it. Yeah. Something that they did that I thought was cool. Some of the like you were saying, kind of redefining or better defining some of these things. They do agents and programs can disguise themselves in this one, which is something that is so obvious. It's interesting that they didn't have that in the original Matrix. It's like, hey, you're just a program. Just make yourself look different. So that was cool. And they use that a couple of times in here, and you see it, and you're like, oh, they got me. They have... Did you ever see the movie Animatrix?
No, I don't think so. I've seen a lot of movies. I don't remember it.
So the Animatrix was an all-animated movie in 2003 where they talked about the origins of the Matrix, where it came from. They go and do a whole in-depth thing about how, like, the whole thing with the machines rising up and people inventing machines that were sentient, and it's almost like Terminator. It goes through the whole thing, and then there's also it's an anthology kind of, because it's random stories as well that are pieced together of different people interacting with the Matrix in different ways. And they explain in one of those little stories that they tell, it's of machines being freed, where people go into a computer, not the Matrix, but like their own little computer systems, and plug those into the machine's brain, and they basically talk to the machines and explain and show the machines that humans aren't evil, and then some of the machines start helping the humans, and they do that here. And so you have machines. Some of the machines are helping humans, just like in the Animatrix, which is a great callback to some original media that happened, because the Animatrix came out between the second and third film, I want to say. It was 2003. Maybe it came out after the third. I don't know. But it came out around that same time, so that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see that as a fan of that movie, to see that happening here.
The Animatrix was a cartoon, right?
Yes, but it's canon. It was animated. It was a cartoon, but it is actually canon. Like it actually did happen in the movies.
Okay, yeah. So it's a lot like the Star Wars, where they had the different cartoons that kind of filled in the gap with some of the movies.
Right. Okay. Perfect example, yes. They have some really good callbacks. So if you're here for nostalgia, they have that for you. They have reused footage as far as flashbacks. So you see some flashbacks of the original movies, especially in memory sequences. They have the opening sequence from the first movie is in this movie, but it's not exactly the same, and that's kind of a spoiler, but I just will tell you that it is there, and you do see it, and you go, oh, wow, it's a little bit of a mystery, which is cool. That's in the opening parts. They have some reused lines, like where you see some characters do something really cool. Only people from the Matrix could do this. And then you see Neo go, oh, that looks easy enough. That was cool. They say there's a character, which is shown in the trailer, which kind of sucks, but there's a character who shows Neo a tattoo and says, do you want to follow, or, will you follow the rabbit, just like in the first movie, so that was cool, too. They do have some better technology used by the humans in this. We do kind of get humans outside of the Matrix in this, like they did in the second and third films in the originals. And they have some world building, explaining to you like what's going on with the people outside of the Matrix, which is kind of cool. I always liked that part. Some people didn't, but I always thought it was cool to just kind of see like what's going on. they have so if I'm going a little bit fast, please don't hesitate to interrupt me. I do have some points, so I'm just going through them. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that some people are really gonna like and some people may not like at all is they have what's called a meta reference. For people who don't know, that's basically where the character does this. I know that I'm in a movie. So they have some things where they have meta references. So they talk about, first of all, the Matrix games is a big meta reference where the movie is basically telling us we know that we're in a movie. They talk about Warner Bros. Warner Bros. Owns the company that Neo works for in this movie.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. That's
And then they say, when you think of the Matrix, what do you think of? And they name all of these things. And I'm going to talk about that line specifically here in a minute, because after this point I have some critiques. And then they said, like, oh, no, this line. What? So they said two lines that, when you think of the Matrix, what do you think of? And then they do a big montage of people talking about things that made the Matrix. The original Matrix movie's cool, except in this universe they're talking about the games. And then they said, what made the Matrix different? Okay, so that's the extent of kind of my good points about the movie. Now I have a little bit of a list of things that I'm going to critique the movie on. Okay, are you ready?
We're ready. Bring
it. So one thing is that the green color scheme from the Matrix is gone in this movie. In the original, they used a like a filter on their cameras and made everything green. Not the biggest thing, but it made it because it was like that green screen that they had, the Matrix, the code, it was like that color, and it was over everything. So everything has a green tint to it. They removed that. I mean, it's okay, but that was kind of a big part of the Matrix movies. And then when you saw them outside of the Matrix, that green tint wasn't there. It's kind of a weird artistic choice to take that away, but okay, whatever. I think that the subtleties in the first act don't work so well. So in the first act, they're trying to do this thing where they're like, you see Neo, and they almost the movie presents itself to you as if saying, like, is Neo in the Matrix? Or is this actually the real world? Maybe the original movies were all fake and it really was just the memories in a video game. And that, we know that that's not true. Like, I'm sorry, that didn't work for me. We know it's an illusion because we've seen the other three movies, and if they had done that, that would have been really dumb to say that, oh, actually, it was all an illusion. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they had said that the first three movies were actually just this crazy guy whose memory, and he was insane, that would have been dumb. So I was like, no, and then it's revealed later that it is an illusion. So
I kind of thought that maybe that everything was restored and the Matrix went away, and that's what I thought originally.
Oh, like this was just like real life now. Like they rebuilt society.
All the whole Matrix had gone away, and then they were just doing. He just had a video game now. I don't know. I kind of thought that, but
So I will say that's what I'm saying though. Like I agree,
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting point, but that wouldn't have made a good Matrix movie. I don't think. Like to basically,
I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was just dumb, and I think that they spent too much time on that. Because it went nowhere. It was just like, hey, is it real? Is it not real? Is it real? Is it not real? It's like, man, we've had 3 movies of you telling us this. We already know. So I did think that it went on too long, and I think that it just kind of rehashed things that everybody knew from the original Matrix. Like a huge number of the people that are going to see this movie are people that loved the originals. We already know this. You don't have to tell us again. Especially because, like you're saying, that would have been a new original idea to do. But they didn't do that, so why are if you're not going to do anything new with it, it's okay. We know. Let's just move on.
And you're right, because I think there was there was a lot of stuff in there that could, if you think of an accordion, that stuff could have been collapsed. And like you said earlier, that some of those actors that it wasn't bad writing, but there could have been a little bit more written on them, could have been expanded. So yeah. I mean, at the start, make it smaller than. Expand some of these other people.
A lot of my frustration at the time when you see writing, when I say bad writing, is usually like, you wrote this for the character when you could have written something much better and not basically wasting time in movies and stuff. So, So I didn't like that. One thing that is it's kind of spoiler light. Some of this stuff is going to be on the edge. Okay, this is not really spoilers. But I am going to tell you some stuff that happens in the movie. One of those things is that they explain how after the 3 movies, Morpheus is now this leader, becomes this leader of the people. Okay? And they said he was a bad leader. I didn't like that. Do you know what I'm talking about? Did you catch that?
Yeah. Why would you do that? I mean,
why do that to the original characters?
Right.
They say that he was a bad leader, and I was like, that's dumb. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Not really a spoiler because you've got to see the movie to understand what I mean. So but they say that he's a bad leader. I don't like it when movies do that, where they take a really loved character and then do something stupid with him, or say that he was a bad guy in some way. Which is why some people have compared this to the new Star Wars trilogy, where they're taking the old characters and kind of messing them up. And I think that they did that with Morpheus here a little bit, and it was dumb. It wasn't like the worst thing, but they just mentioned it real quick that he basically was a bad leader, and I was like, that's dumb. Okay, now, this is my big problem. Are you ready for the big problem? I was
ready.
And
Bring it.
I talked about this about you in a little bit. So, I do not think that the action was shot well in this movie. I do not think, and I'll explain to you why here in just a second.
Okay.
So, first of all, I wrote shaky cam. I do not like shaky cam. Cuts where they do that thing where they cut, so it's like the fist goes like this, and just before you see the punch, it cuts to another angle, and you see the guy go like that. I don't like that.
Okay.
They had bad angles, and they were zoomed in very close to the action. Now, where they're fighting, and they're fighting like this close to the camera, and you're like, I can't see what's happening. Some of the fight scenes in this, I was just confused. Now, as a special thing, something I've never done before in a review, I have prepared a little demonstration to explain exactly my point. So, this first clip that I want to show you is a clip. So these are both low production things that I made myself to explain my point. Watch this first clip. This first clip represents good action movies and good shooting of action scenes, and it is what they did in the original. Okay, so now watch this second clip, and this second clip is a representation of what you're going to get in this movie, and it is everything bad that I don't like in action movies. Okay, so now watching those clips, I hope that you can realize, you know what I'm talking about, though. It's like the camera shakes, they do those cut things, and in the original movie, it was just a wide-angle shot of two guys standing next to each other, and it was almost like watching Mortal Kombat. They ran up to each other, they started fighting, and it was the coolest thing ever. And one thing that we did, actually, I kind of talked about when I filmed those two scenes. My wife was helping me, and my mom was helping me as well, so thanks, Mom. We were talking about how to make the first one look really good and how to make the second one look really bad, and one of the things that we realized is that in the original Matrix movies, they have these really cool action scenes, and they slowed them down. Like the action...
Yeah.
So in an actual fight, people don't go... No, in a real fight, people are like... Okay, and in the original Matrix movies, you see them do a thing where they slow down, and so you can see all their movements, and it looks really cool. And in this one, it's just really quick, and you miss a lot of the action. So I don't know. That really bothered me about this.
You know that is a good point, because when you said it, I thought about in the original when Neo and
Morpheus fight.
are fighting in the thing, and then they jump up in the air and they're kicking in the air, and it's really cool. Yeah, there was they could have probably redone those a little bit better. They look more like some look more like a street brawl. I mean, there was some where they walk on the wall and they're doing the 360, and I mean that's kind of cool. But yeah,
where you actually see them. Well, a good example. I'll bring up this point. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just
you're fine.
Yeah, going along with what you're saying, they have the second Matrix movie is criticized as being maybe not so good, and then the third one I liked all of them, to tell you the truth, but the second one they say, oh, it wasn't so good. But there were two huge action sequences in that movie that a lot of people will say, I didn't like the movie, but I did like this. And one is the highway chase, where they get in the highway and they drive, and there's this big chase scene, and it's all wide-angle shots shot from a helicopter. Like, you have guys following other... So you have guys in a helicopter with a camera, and they're following these guys, and you watch them jump from car to car and fighting each other, and then wide-angle shots of Morpheus fighting an agent, okay? And then the other one was that you had the scene where all of the Agent Smiths, hundreds, thousands of Agent Smiths, come out and fight Neo, and they slow it down, and it's wide-angle, and you basically just watch almost from like 20, maybe like 10, not 20, but 10 feet away, a camera, just watching them with no cuts, watching them fight. Here, the big action sequence is where they're walking into an area, and then a bunch of old programs and you're going to recognize one of them, jump out and say, hey, we're here to get you. And they're fighting, and I couldn't tell who was fighting who or what was going on. I honestly couldn't tell. And then in the middle of what they're doing is they're doing a thing like this. So you have these people fighting, and you can't tell what's happening, and then all of a sudden it jumps to a guy's face, and it's him yelling something at the people fighting, and he's like, I hate you, I'm gonna get you, and then more of this, and then, oh, I hate you, and it's like, what are you doing? I want either just show me the fighting. Why that sequence, I thought, I don't know who wrote that. I'm sorry. I am genuinely sorry. I'm like, why did you make those decisions? I really thought that was bad for the movie.
You know, the funny thing about, like, when you get into the fourth or fifth movie, how many movies have the resurrection as part of... I was thinking of Alien Resurrection.
Alien Resurrection.
Like, could you think of something else, you know? I mean, it's always like, hey, if you're going to do a one that's like number 4, just, you know, put in Resurrection. It's like Star Wars, Resurrection. They didn't do that in Star Wars, but, you know, that's...
Yeah. No,
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I can definitely tell. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I probably this one didn't need to be made. If I know that there are some things to enjoy here and some good ideas, but that would probably the good ideas that are in this, they could have done in the other ones, and it would have made those ones better. But this one didn't necessarily need to be made. I thought that they wrapped it up okay in the thing. So,
but, you know, why not do a story like Star Wars? You know, those little gap stories they do.
Some people have said that they want to, like, since this has come out, people have said, like, oh, they should make a show. You know.
Or do one on call it Morpheus, and you could do one on Morpheus. You know.
You know what would be cool is Morpheus before he meets Neo, like before a prequel. That'd be
prequel. Yeah, those things always seem to work better than, you know.
I do want to ask you: did you get any? Did you like First of all, did you like any of the comedy?
Well, I can't remember. I mean, they had some comedy, but I mean, it's probably certain instances, but. It's kind of like not a movie to see a lot of funny stuff in.
Right. I would say that actually perfectly proves my point. So there are some parts that I took note of that were like, where they made like a joke, and I was like, I mean, these movies are supposed to be kind of pretty much serious, and I was like, the comedy didn't.
Well, they started out that way with the series, and you want them to continue on in that same thought process and same type of movie. Not like, you know, Star Wars has comedy in it. You know, the Marvels have comedy in it because that's what's expected because you've seen the series going through. But Matrix...
It seems like... So they did the comedy... This isn't a comedy, but there are some things that they throw in there to be funny. And I was like... one thing is that they show Neo try to use some of his powers and he's not able to, and they kind of throw it off, do that only for a laugh to make it funny. And I was like... I mean, I think that they were kind of enticed by, like you were saying, Marvel is huge, is the biggest movies in the world, and their comedies, their action comedies, but not everything has to be a dumb action comedy.
Yeah, and that's a good point because you have people who, 2 people who played in Marvel, and now they're playing in Warner Brothers, and I thought the Warner Brothers could have learned some more stuff from the way Marvel does those characters, because those 2 characters. Mm-hmm. You know, Trinity and I forgot what the young lady's name is.
Yeah.
They could have. They had shown that they could really have like you said, this goes back to the characters, exploiting them a little bit more, expanding who they are, decreasing the beginning of it with Neo. And I mean, I don't know how many scenes he's sitting in his bed thinking. I think there's like about 5. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He's like laying in his bed thinking. And I'm like, wow. I mean, it's kind of like the end of Lord of the Rings. How many endings do you have to have, you know?
Right.
Maybe just one there. Maybe 2, and then you write, and you only have so much time to write the movie. I mean, 2.5 hours is a very long movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Movies used to be, and one thing is, movies used to be shorter, but they were written so well that everything would get in there. You'd feel good about it. Now you have these big, long, drawn-out movies that are not written the best.
Well, when I was a young man, because I'm a lot older than you, though I don't look like it. Is that when you went to the movie, they had intermissions, and you go out and get popcorn and come back because the movies were longer. And you don't. But now you don't see that. But so if you're gonna have a long movie, you need to have an intermission. Like Lawrence of Arabia actually has an intermission even when you're watching the film on TV.
Oh,
so
wow.
you can get up and, I don't think that's a bad idea.
So kind of going along with what you're saying, though, they do have some monologues in this movie that are kind of long and drawn out. And I agree with you when we talk about layers, and this movie has layers and certain things. But one thing that I didn't like is that the analyst in this movie, he does these monologues where he talks and talks and talks, and you can't understand anything of what he's saying. He does, and I think the reason that you can't understand what he's saying is because he's not actually saying much. But he's not saying much, and he just says, like, I am the guy, the Matrix, and the Matrix this, and the Matrix that, and the Matrix, the Matrix, the Matrix. And I'm like, you didn't even say anything. You just kept saying things about machines and humans and emotions, and it didn't make any sense.
Right.
So I'm trying. No, I was just saying I'm trying to wrap it up here because these are kind of my last points.
That was a good point. I think that they should have focused more on the power struggle because there's different entities fighting there. So
sorry, we're getting a little bit long here. I want to get through these last points really quick. Sorry. So I want to say people compared this to Star Wars: The Last Jedi. As far as the characters, and I wouldn't say that, but I will say that it shared one thing that I immediately thought of is almost the Star Wars: The Force Awakens, actually. Because in this movie, it's very slow, not a whole lot of action, you have some character interaction, some development stuff. And then all of a sudden, a breakneck speed ending. Like, they have and then also one thing is they said, like, the secret designs of the Matrix. Kind of like the Death Star plans. Is that what you know? And then they have a scene. They have a scene where they exposition you, like it's like where a character sits down and is telling you the plan, and then as they're telling you the plan, you see the characters doing the plan later. If that makes sense, like you see the people actually doing the plan. And I thought to myself, man, I really would have liked if that was what the movie was about, though. Like, I would have loved to see them actually just do that rather than telling us it and showing it to us like that. But actually, that's not the biggest deal. But it was a bigger point to me that they had, like, it was very slow, and then all of a sudden, right at the end, they're like, okay, now kick it into high gear here. It was kind of jarring. I do want to say, though, as far as kind of my final closing miscellaneous point before we go into review score here is, I did not think that this movie was as cool. I did not think it had as much weight, and I don't think that it felt as much like the Matrix movie, like the original, like what the Matrix is. That was my point, is in the beginning when they have that montage and the game designers say, when you think of the Matrix, you think of, and they name all these things, and then I thought to myself, and they didn't really deliver on all those things as like I would have liked. Yeah.
That's a good point. I agree with you on that. That's a good wrap up on the miscellaneous there.
Yeah. So, moving in, if you have nothing else to say, we can move into final statement and review score. I know this one is a little bit long, and then I would like to, if it's okay, we can do some spoilers. I just have a few points on spoilers I want to talk about, if that's okay. So, what do you have for a final statement and review score?
Are we going to best out of 5? Is that how you're doing it?
So it's bad? My other mic is old, I have to remind him. Okay, so it's bad, below average, average, above average, and excellent. Excellent is like life-changing.
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't excellent. Oh my gosh, I think I would say it was average.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. There's some things that are above average, but I think overall it's average.
Okay, so I'll basically agree with you, but at the same time, I'm a little different. So I'm gonna actually say that this was below average.
Oh,
I know. I'm sorry. I wanted to love this movie. I went into it. It does have some good ideas, but actually, it's really, to me, I got about halfway through it and I was like, this is actually kind of boring just because of how slow it was. There were those points that I talked about. I got like, with as long as the movie is, with as storied as the history of the Matrix is, with as good of a production team as they had, it almost made me even a little mad at how the action went. I was really upset about the action being filmed the way that it was. That's why I made those clips to show you guys. I want to say, yeah, so I would, like, just with the characters, the acting was really good. The writing was really bad. I told my wife after seeing this, a couple of years ago, they had a writer's strike in Hollywood, and Hollywood literally shut down, and the writers said, we want more money. That happened just a couple of years ago. Those
yeah.
writers were wrong, because they got more of their money, and then they started making movies like this with bad writing. I'm telling, they should not have paid those guys more, because I just did not like the writing in this. The cinematography with the action either. So basically, you have good character. You have three things in a movie: acting, cinematography, and writing. And they only got acting right on this. And so I'm like, I'm sorry. I have to say it's below average, which sucks to say.
Yeah, no, it looks like they tried to hurry up and get it done. I mean, it looks like it was rushed.
Yeah,
Does that you say? And maybe, and I'll go back and I'm giving the benefit out with the COVID thing going on. I don't know how that affected it.
yeah,
I mean that is kind of like a wrench in the dryer. That kind of messes things up. But
yeah.
I mean, it does seem like that they could have taken some more time and some more thought, like you're saying, to
Yeah.
develop this. And yeah,
I'll tell you what I really think is, and this is what I just wrote here under final statement here. I just wrote, this feels like a group of fans coming together to make a fan fiction, and they had a really great budget and they had really great actors, but they were not good at writing or cinematography at all. So, which sucks. I'm sorry. It does suck, because I love these movies.
and not to push things on, but sometimes you have writers that did great on the other movies, and then you bring them back, and maybe you need some fresh blood, some new writers. Don't bring back the old team, bring in a new team, because there's just something about that refreshes it, makes it more appealing. And
Well, what Wachowski did the writing here, and so Wachowski used to be Wachowski brothers, used to be a man, and then transitioned to a lady. Okay, so
I didn't know that. Okay, all right.
okay, so the Wachowski, this woman who's now a Wachowski woman here, she said she was really good in a lot of this stuff, but these amateur, I almost think that maybe the newer writers that they used wrote more than they probably should have, because these other guys that I told you about. The other writers that I told you about, there were three. There was Wachowski, who's this veteran person, and then these other two have written almost nothing, and it feels like maybe they wrote more than they should have for this movie. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's what we got here at Mike's After X Review. So you got a between an average and a below average. I would say that it wouldn't be a bad idea to just skip this one out. Yeah. So, but that's what we got. Oh, go ahead.
If you get it free on HBO Max, like I did,
Yeah.
you don't have to pay for it. That might be worth it. I don't think I'd go to the theater to see this.
Yeah.
Now that I've watched it, yeah.
I did go to theater and see it, and I wouldn't go into theater to see it. So, but that's what we got, guys. I just want to say, God bless you all. Have a good day. We're gonna do a spoiler section, so if you stay for that, I think I might cut it into 2 videos, but that's all we got, guys. Like I said, God bless you. Have a good day. See you on the next one.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.